Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies and Man once again, and today we're doing another episode of the Sword and Sorcery Book Club. I think I owed you guys this video earlier this week, or actually maybe last week on Wednesday, but I didn't get around to recording it until now, days after I was supposed to make it, and hopefully it's not too much of an inconvenience, but I wanted to do something to showcase some of the books that I have that I'm not really sure I would talk about otherwise. So I wanted to mention them here in this kind of sort of haul video. Technically, I've already previously hauled all of this on my main channel, but I thought that it would be interesting to highlight specifically for an audience that's more interested in sword and sorcery, pulpy stuff, and kind of odd bits and bobs that come out of the comic book industry, right? So things that are a bit off the beaten path, that are more in line with the old pulps of the 1920s, right? So not everything that I'm going to mention is pulpy. Some of it might classify as other things, maybe jungle adventure stories, or maybe other types of narratives like that. But I think that ultimately, even if it's not sword and sorcery, you guys will find some interest in it, right? Even if it's more of a Stone Age adventure, or maybe it's a little bit more epic fantasy, you know, it depends, right? But I would classify most of this as sword and sorcery, or sword and sorcery adjacent, right? So let's just jump into it. So the first thing that I wanted to show you guys here is Joe Cubert's Tor. Again, I don't think this is sword and sorcery. This is more of a jungle adventure type story, maybe a Stone Age type story, something like that. It's about this kind of caveman looking guy. And I got this from my local comic book store. They have a section where they just have a bunch of old books that are either new and never sold, or they're old and they're used, but they're not, you know, in good enough shape that they can be sold for like collector type prices. So they just keep them all in this section of the store, and I browse through that section pretty often. A lot of times I get basically stuff that's brand new that just never sold. Sometimes I get stuff like this that's a bit damaged, but it's not so damaged that it's unreadable. And in fact, I would say that this book is actually perfect, in perfect condition, except for the outside. And I actually got a little bit of a deal on this, right? So it already had 60% off. I managed to whittle it down a few dollars from that. So I'd say I probably got this for about 65% off, or maybe 70% off. So the cover price on this is $50. I got it for about $12, I think. So it's a bit more than 60%, but it's not so much that it's 80%. So I would say it's around 70% off. I think I could do the math for it, but I'm not really interested in doing that. So yeah, but this is a Joe Cubert story. He did a bunch of work on a bunch of different things here, and he talks about a lot of things throughout the book, alongside mentioning, you know, the artwork and the story that's actually about this character, right? So yeah, another interesting thing about this is that it has a faux leather kind of vibe to this. This actually feels more like plastic, right? But it is kind of a faux leather kind of thing. The embossing on this is pretty bad though, so you can't actually see a lot of it. Like, you can kind of make it out, right? That says Joe Cubert, that says DC Comics down there, and that says Tor, but it's not particularly good. And although this looks kind of like a mustard color on video, it's more of a light orange kind of tan color, right? So it's a bit different from what it looks like on camera, but it's pretty cool. Either way, I think this is an interesting book. The inside is perfect. There's no damage to it whatsoever. I did manage to get a little bit of a good price on it, because I did say, hey, the cover is messed up, right? Like, this collector's item. Can you give me a little bit of a boost there? And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a few dollars off. So yeah, so here we have an introduction, some notes about the thing, some information here from Roy Thomas, and then we have the beginning here. This is a little bit of a comic book about this caveman called Tor as he lives through these interesting times here. So I've never read this. I don't know what it's about, but I got it because I really like these weird creatures. I think this art is really interesting, even if I'm not necessarily a big fan of how the man is drawn, right? How Tor is drawn. I like everything else, and I think it's pretty cool. So I'm not really sure if this is completely printed the way it should be, right? And then there's these inclusions of these funny, like Flintstones-esque kind of comics as well. So I'm not really sure how that works, right? This is the Wizard of Ugg, which I guess is some sort of Wizard of Oz type joke. And these get alternated throughout this, right? So you get the Tor stuff, and then you get the Wizard of Ugg stuff afterwards, right? And like I said, I mostly got this because I really like the artwork. I think it's really cool. I really love how the creatures are done. But I've not read it. So when I read it, I will make a video for it here on this channel. I think you guys would appreciate this more than my main audience or the audience for my main channel. Honestly, I would consider you guys my main audience since you guys are way more consistent about watching my videos than the other channel, right? But that's just because this channel is a lot more niche and specific, whereas my main channel is a bit all over the place, right? So we have introduction of another character here. We have Chi-Chi, I guess that's the monkey. And yeah, so there you go. I'm not gonna bore you too much by continuously trying to find out what to say. So let's just move on from this one. There's some interesting kind of bits here where some of the portions are in 3D, so they have like red and blue layering to them. And I don't have 3D glasses, so I wouldn't be able to, you know, see it normally. But I'm sure that there is some way that we can get it done, right? Like you can download some app on your phone to make it look at 3D images or something. I'm not really sure how it works, but I'm sure that there is some way that I could find to read those portions, right? But I'll get around to that issue when it comes to be important, right? Then we have Slain. I got this from the same section at a different time. This I got significantly more recently. This tour book I got somewhere in the early first quarter of the year, I think, maybe early in the second quarter. But this is Slain. This is by Pat Mills and Mike McMahon. And this is a Titan Comics book, or Titan Books right there. This is Slain Book 1. I'm not really sure if this is a single issue or like a single collection, right, an album, or if this is supposed to be a collection of multiple stories into a single book. I don't know. We have all of the other books that are published by Titan at this time. They all seem to be 2000 AD type books, right? Just Dread and the best of 2000 AD and stuff like that. So yeah, the most interesting ones to me here at this point are the Modesty Blaze ones, because she seems like a cool character. I know a bit about her, but I've just not had a chance to buy any of those books, right? So yeah, but Slain seems to be some sort of Conan type character, although he's Irish in origin, I think, or maybe Scottish. I'm not really sure. Let's see. Let's just go back to the beginning. Why am I talking out of my ass when I could just tell you? Yeah, so he's a Gaelic character or something. And there's all this information about the character written by Pat Mills in 1984. There you go. Some information there. I think that's supposed to be Cernanus, called Carnoon. Crom Crotch. Definitely a Robert E. Howard kind of reference there. And I got this because the artwork looks really phenomenal, really interesting. Very heavy and scratchy and weird, but I really like how it looks. To fight a mammoth, that's awesome. And I just like how much detail goes into this, right? And, you know, normally I wouldn't say that this is a art style I prefer. I don't necessarily think I would like to have all of my artwork or all of my comic books in this type of artwork, but they look pretty interesting, not gonna lie. I think it's supposed to be some sort of Stonehenge kind of thing. I don't know. Overall, I just appreciate this a lot. I got this for like $3, so it's no big deal if I don't like it, right? But I thought it was just so cool looking, so couldn't help myself. But yeah, that's Slain. Similarly, I got a 2, book 1. And I don't know, my local comic book store somehow just ended up with a lot of interesting sword and sorcery adjacent type things, and I ended up picking up quite a few of them. So this one seems to be some sort of guy that gets some extra information out of the world through some sort of knowledge given to him by the gods or some shit. I don't know. He finds a spaceship, and so he gets knowledge that maybe he shouldn't have access to, and that changes his outlook. And so he lives in this interesting, ancient, Stone Age kind of world. And he fights a giant and some dinosaurs, which is awesome, and more dinosaurs. And, you know, I don't know what this is about, but it looks cool. So that's why I bought it. And I will mention it in a review at some point later in the future. I'll make a review just for you guys about these books. So yeah, moving on to something much more recent. Actually, here we have a Sword of Sorcery featuring Amethyst with Beowulf and Stalker. And this is an interesting book. I knew this existed a long time ago when I first got into comic books for the first time, when I picked up some new 52 stuff. And I've been wanting to get this for a long time. I could never find it. I never looked too deeply into it anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. Recently, though, I saw an interview between Sean Curley from the Conan the Barbarian official YouTube channel and Christy Marks, which is this lady right here. And she is a friend of Roy Thomas's. She worked on the Conan cartoon, and she worked on some sword and sorcery comic books back in the day. And so I found her in conversation with Sean really, really interesting. I appreciated the work that she did, and I thought that it'd be interesting to read something written by her. And I'd been thinking about that relatively recently, and luck would have it, or as luck would have it, there was a bit of synchronicity in the world or something, and I found this at my local comic book store for 60% off, and I had to get it. I think I got this for $8 all told. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's $25. This collects the whole sort of sorcery book, all 8 issues. It also collects 2 other issues, or 1 issue that featured 2 other stories. That would be Beowulf and Stalker, and that's why they're all here, because it's all sword and sorcery type stuff. And broadly speaking, I think that the artwork is not necessarily my favorite, but it looks interesting enough that I'm looking forward to reading this, right? So, yeah, this almost has like a He-Man vibe to it. That's everyone that worked on this book. And I don't know too much about this. I've never heard of this beyond knowing that it existed. So I'm very interested to see what this is about. I will do a review for it when I read it, and hopefully I enjoy it. I'm sure I will. I'm just curious to know if it's about, or if it's something that was made for me and people like me to enjoy, or if it was more of a let's get girls into comic books by featuring these really feminine looking hero type characters, right? I'm not really sure. And then we have Tarzan, The Lost Adventure. This is for sure not sword and sorcery, but it's very pulpy anyways. I got this from eBay. I think I paid like $5 or $6 for this. I can't remember, for the whole set, for all 4, which is a pretty good steal, because I think at this point they go for about $15 each. So I was really happy with that. I got this kind of an impulse buy after I watched a video by Todd Luck. If you guys are fans, people that review Conan, I'm sure you've known who Todd Luck is, right? It's him, it's Stygian Dogs, it's Tennessee Fats, it's Michael K. Vaughn, and myself, and a few other people that all do reviews for Conan, right? And I think Todd Luck said he'd stop, but the other things that he does is talk about Tarzan, talk about He-Man, and one time that he was talking about Tarzan, he was talking about this book. So this book is a Dark Horse published it, and it's actually a novel, because this is like the last story that Edgar Rice Burroughs worked on that related to Tarzan. It was supposed to be the end of the story. He never finished it, and I think someone eventually stepped in to finish it for him, and it was released, or it wasn't released at the time, and so Dark Horse decided to release it. Alongside that, they also put in the John Carter of Mars comic strip that released a long time ago. I'm not really sure when, and I like the artwork for it. I think it's cool. I like that it's black and white. I think it looks nice. And they did 4 issues of this, and this is a kind of odd format. This is not the right size for modern comic books, but it works pretty well. So there's some interviews and some extra interesting information here about Edgar Rice Burroughs and the work that he did for Tarzan and all that type of stuff. And I think it's really cool that they added all this. I think it's important to remember and keep and talk about. And so I appreciate that Todd Luck did, and I appreciate the opportunity to own this. So yeah, I think there is a collected version of this now that is sold by Edgar Rice Inc., Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc., so you guys can check that out. But I think this is one of the few places where these John Carter of Mars comic strips are collected, so I recommend you track this down. And yeah, so the price on this is really good, but I bet you it's like $15 per at this point. So yeah, there you go. That's Tarzan, The Lost Adventure. Books 1 through 4 complete. And to end this off, I have ElfQuest, the Grand Quest. I don't know which issues are collected here, to be honest with you, because the first 5 are like the first portion of the story. That's kind of like the first arc in the story, Fire and Flight. But if I remember correctly, Fire and Flight ended when these two characters finally got married. And I'm pretty sure that's not where this ends. So we'll see. I've not read this book specifically, but I have read the first, I would say, 8 issues of ElfQuest. I did a review for the first 5 on my main channel, so you guys can check it out over there if you want. I think I'll probably put it onto the Sword and Sorcery Book Club main page, because I do think that this counts as a Sword and Sorcery story. You know, I'm willing to be convinced of the fact that it's not, but broadly speaking, it's about these characters that are kind of barbarians that have to evacuate from their home, and they meet a more civilized version of themselves, and they have to adjust to that, right? And I think that that is, you know, at the heart of a lot of Conan stories, and at the heart of Sword and Sorcery overall, right? So I would definitely say that it's a Sword and Sorcery story, although you can kind of argue that it has the trappings of epic fantasy because of the fantastical nature of the world compared to stuff like Conan, and also due to the way that the story is structured around quests, right? But I would argue that the quests are more like objectives that the characters have to go through for a specific story, more similar to the way Conan has to do things, than it would be like the way that a farm boy has to go on a quest to save the world in normal epic fantasy, right? So, you know, it really depends on how you want to look at it. I would definitely say ElfQuest is a Sword and Sorcery story by my estimation. If you guys don't agree, perfectly acceptable. And I actually want to discuss this, so please let me know what you think about it. You know, is it a Sword and Sorcery story or not? So yeah, that's the haul. So I will do another one of these probably in December to tell you about all of the other Sword and Sorcery comic books and manga and other stuff that I've collected since. I do have a big pile of books that I could also do a showcase / haul video on, but I thought that I would just stick to comic books because that's like the main audience that I have on this channel right now, right? That's the stuff that I've mostly curated at this point. So yeah, that's the video for this week. If I can manage it, I will have another video on Sunday, which should be a video for Occult Detective November, or sorry, Occult Detective October, or Occult-tober, I think is what it's called. That would feature the Jules de Gradin stories. So that's a contemporary of Howard's, of Robert E. Howard's. And I read the first story, and I thought it was pretty good, so I want to talk about it on the channel. It's not Sword and Sorcery, but it's close enough, right? So it's still pulpy. I think the audience that I've cultivated will like it, so we'll see how that works, right? So I'll have that video out as soon as I can, if I can get it done. And then we should have some Conan stuff at the end of the month, because 2 more Conan comic books released, right? There should be Savage Sword number 5 and the ending of the current arc of Conan, right? So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time.